it. All right. A banger. Another guy that's a staple of the calf kick experience, even though I don't think he's ever thrown one. Islam Makhachev versus Dan Hooker. Dan, this guy is fucking fearless, dude. I mean, after a great fight against Nazareth Haberquist, I don't even know how to say his name, but good Lord, was that a good showing for him at 266? Wants to come in here against a demon, Islam Makhachev. He's coming at 21 or 20 and 1. So this guy's a stud. He barely ever loses. I don't even know how he lost that fight. Anyways, it's going to be held at the lightweight division at 155. Makhachev coming at 5'10", the 70.5-inch reach. Dan, the Hangman Hooker. 2 tough losses against Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier, the last 2 title challengers. I mean, this guy, whatever you want to say about him, he's good. He's really good, and I think he's a really entertaining fighter. He's coming in at 6 foot with a 75.5-inch reach. So that tells you is Dan's going to have the advantage on the feet. But that is no match for Islam Makhachev's ground game. I mean, this is Khabib reincarnated. He's a stud on the ground. He suffocates people to the furthest extent that a referee will let it go in the octagon. I mean, he's just nonstop with these takedowns. And I don't really have ever seen anybody successfully stop him all 3 rounds, right? Or 5 rounds. I mean, he's he's I don't know how to describe him. He's dominant, super dominant. I think Dan's a good wrestler. I think he showed that in his last fight, but there's levels to the shit, as we always say, and Dan's not on his level.
Dude, it's just funny because, we're talking about Islam. Everybody says that's Khabib's little brother. Everybody treats him like he's fresh off the scene, fresh, new into this game. He's a 30-year-old man that's been fighting in the UFC since 2015. He's not new to this shit. He's worked his way up to the top, hasn't been given anything, and he's beaten some solid opponents. I mean, his last couple of wins.
The one that surprised me, and I think is probably one of the most impressive, besides Arman Sarukian, because he could have lost that fight. I think the decision could have gone Arman's way. I hope to see that fight again. But the one that impressed me was Davi Ramos, who is, I think, an ADCC world champion in jiu-jitsu, and just totally negated his jiu-jitsu and beat him to a pulp.
I mean, he didn't win every single second of either of his most recent 2 fights, but he completely neutralized offensively Drew Dober and Thiago Moises. Like, completely neutralized them. They made these dudes look average when they're both actually pretty good. Then you look on the other side and say, oh, well, the Hangman's been doing this forever. Dan's only 31, and Dan's been in the UFC since 2014. It's like Dan came a year before Islam. They're only a year apart. So it's funny that these guys have the same amount of career experience, but we're looking at Dan having fought the best of the best at 2 separate divisions. We're looking at Dan with this level of competition, and it almost makes you want to say, maybe Dan. But, Dan's a badass. You got to give him credit. Hooker took this fight on 2 weeks' notice, stayed in America. He's training at a camp he's unfamiliar with to fly all the way across the world again to fight an absolute stud, a fucking machine of a fighter. I respect Dan Hooker with everything that I have, but I don't think he can beat Islam Makhachev. I don't think he can do it.
I don't see anybody being able to beat him. He's so technically sound on the ground. And even if you're a great wrestler or great grappling or a great jiu-jitsu guy, his transitions are, who does it better? I mean, Khabib maybe, but I mean, we never saw that. Khabib never got in a compromised position and got out of it. He was always on top in dominant position almost every time, right? So I just think that, Islam's just going to be there. He's going to be on top of him, and it's just going to be a grueling fight. And I feel bad for Dan. He's getting himself into a world of hurt.
Well, it's just funny because in Dan's last fight against Haqparast, we see him start shooting for takedowns. We see Dan start trying to show off his experience, show off that he can enter that world on the ground. Dan's a kickboxer, man. He's a really good kickboxer. I've never seen him wrestle like that. So I think a lot of people are going to say, well, Hooker's not bad on the mat. Hooker's significantly better on the feet. So, maybe this is your dog bet for the night. And truthfully, if Dan Hooker won, I would be really happy for the guy, even if I lose my bets. But Islam Makhachev gets better on the feet every single time we see him. And he's, like Gage said, he's a machine. If he doesn't get you down the first time, he's going to shoot again. If he doesn't get you down in the first round, he's going to shoot for 2 more whole rounds. I don't think either one of these guys is necessarily a finisher. You see Makhachev with a lot of submissions on his record, but the last time Dan Hooker knocked somebody out was in 2019, and that was James Vick, so it almost doesn't even really count. The last knockout before that was 2018. So I think Makhachev has room to make a mistake or two on the feet, and Hooker will make him pay for it. I'm not going to say that he's going to get anything free, but I don't think Dan's going to put his lights out, and I think the longer he lets Makhachev stick around, the worse it's going to be for him.
Absolutely. Let's get into these ugly odds. I'm not a fan of this. Well, I mean, I am a fan. I think it's right, but it's not conducive to what we're doing here on the Calf Kick Experience, folks.
It's a parlay bet at best.
At best. Islam Makhachev, the heavy favorite at minus 600. Dan Hooker coming back at this plus 460 dog. I don't necessarily, like always, I'm not an advocate for betting on rounds. I think that's kind of just ignorant on anybody's part to bet rounds. But Makhachev by TKO plus 600. But I'm more interested in him as submission plus 245.
I agree. That was actually my bet. I actually think 2 plus 245 for the submission is your play here. And
I mean, even if you're not confident how, the fight ends, go down here. What is it? Wins inside the distance at plus 170 is not bad.
No, not when you're talking about a minus 600 guy. And the thing about Makhachev, that we talked about it is that like he could get a submission with a minute left in the third round. He could get a submission with 10 seconds left in the third round. This guy's not looking to go to decision.
No, he is all business all the time. He likes to smash. We have our 2 favorite fighters on the Calf Kick Experience, 2 most dominant fighters in our opinion that are on the come up. That are going to make a lot of noise and are going to be here for a while. And I think, they want to stake their claim. Both of these guys, Hamzat, Islam, I think we're going to be talking about 2 future champions.
I just think it's crazy that if you really look at it, there's a potential that if Makhachev wants to move up after, maybe he wins a belt, if that's what fate has in store, we could see those guys fight. And I don't know who I think would win.
No, sir.
Actually, I have an opinion, but that's not for now. We'll save it for when it happens.
All right.